Well, hello there and a very good morning. Thanks for tuning into News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague Nancy Bora, and what we're essentially up to every day at 8 a.m. is to take a look at the overnight developments, is to take a look at what are some of the top headlines suggesting us from across national dailies, regional newspapers from down south, and that's not all. We're also going to take a look at what some of the tabloid headlines are suggesting, what the social media is abuzz with. If there's a meme that's going viral, well, Nancy pretty much knows about it. And if there's a video that's going viral, we'll try and throw it up on the big wall over there. The idea of this show is for you to catch the news pulse of the day, and whilst we're trying to break, bashing these rigid newsroom walls, this toxic culture that everybody starts, talking about in public spaces, Nancy, whilst we're trying to delve away from that, how about you join us in the process as well? Meet us halfway, get down in the comment sections, tell us about your opinion on this particular segment. What is it that you'd like us to do? We'll try and our best to present a nuanced perspective, discussion, debate, discourse, whatever the topic suggests. We'll certainly talk about that. But before we peruse through what the news headlines are telling us, there is a list because there is a paucity of time. And today, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big day because we're saying goodbye to the old Parliament building and saying hello to the new one. And that program is going to begin soon. Not possible for us to cover the entire newspaper. So we have come up with a list. Nancy has rather. I'll just take you through it. This is what we're going to cover over the next 50 odd minutes. Canada has expelled a top Indian diplomat alleging Delhi's link to the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now who was Nijjar? He's been declared a terrorist here back at home. And various other details. We'll talk about that. There's also reaction by the Canadian Foreign Minister. You'll have to take a look at that and understand, because right after G20 and Trudeau staying back and Trudeau getting the right message, there was a lot happening at that front as well. So it's interesting. We'll talk about that. And there's a lot of allegations that the Foreign Minister of Canada has leveled. We'll also talk about the women's quota, because that's something that everybody has covered. Modi government clears women's quota bill 27 years after it was first introduced, and several other headlines. And of course, Nancy will take us through why women's quota is important and the significance of it thereafter. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we will touch upon the new Parliament building as well. There's a lot that's going to happen. There's a photo session, joint speeches by Shibu Soren, Manmohan Singh, some of the oldest parliamentarians that are alive today. They will address the joint session in the central hall, jahan par Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, dono members of parliament maujood rahenge. Then of course another sad and very tragic information that's coming out of Kota, Nancy. 25th death by suicide this year. Again, it's an aspirant. This time it's a NEET aspirant. Again, not the first NEET aspirant. If this doesn't raise an alarm bell, I don't know what will, because this is the 25th such tragic loss of life in this year alone. And that does say something, doesn't it? People who are running coaching centers, people who are trying to push their kids into that rat race, they must think about that as well. Moving on, Aditya L1, India's first solar class observatory that has been pushed into Lagrange point 1. It's already on its way to Lagrange point 1, but it has started collecting solar data. We'll give you updates on that. There's a latest post on X by the Indian Space Research Organization as well. And more so, there were terrorist fires at the CRPF cavalcade in Srinagar, which was thwarted successfully. On the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, 7th day of the anti-terror operations in Anantnag, we've located the body of the missing soldier, another of our brave heart, who's succumbed to his injuries. Then, interestingly, Taiwan is crying foul play because 103 warplanes that have been sent on the the Taiwanese Strait. Taiwan is saying you're trying to intimidate us. Again, China is not doing this for the first time, but 103 warplanes. That's almost like a World War II scenario. Imagine 103 warplanes that you're looking at in the sky. There's of course the Sena versus Sena aspect ahead of 2024. Maharashtra politics, the pot boiler is certainly boiling, and now the Supreme Court has told the Speaker to set a deadline to decide the matter. Apart from that, we'll also touch upon the Gujarat rains. Narmada has breached the danger level mark. And between United States and the Middle East, there's some $6 billion prisoner exchange. That's quite interesting. Well, we'll talk about that as well. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, let's shift our focus to Khalistan, the pro-Khalistan and the anti-India referendum. You've seen it in Surrey, you've seen it in San Francisco, we've seen it in various parts of Australia as well. Over the last couple of months, I'd say 13, 14 months, it has been rearing its head again. Khalistan reborn. You know, we've been doing spot on documentaries. My colleague Aditya Rajkal and Deepak Bhadana, Anthony Rosario, they've been at it. They've been producing those kind of documentaries, and we'll try and show those documentaries as well. But the point being that right now, Canada has expelled our top diplomat. I have some information with me, because this is something that has not been covered in the newspapers yet. I have some information with me. In terms of officer who is expelled, what sources are telling us is that it's likely to be Pawan Kumar Rai, who was Minister Economical Coordination and Community Affairs at the Indian High Commission in Canada. This is what we're picking up. He is from the RAW. He's an IPS officer from Punjab, from the 1997 batch. He is of the ADGP rank. This is the top official that has been expelled. Now, of course, India will take its own stand. New Delhi will take a retaliatory measure, certainly. Most likely, and this is what we're picking up, of course, the details are sketchy at the moment. The New Delhi station chief of CSIS will be expelled as well. It seems like this between India and Canada might diplomatically turn ugly. You know, Nancy, before I get in your viewpoint, I'm just going to confirm with the control room. Do we have the reaction of the foreign minister? We do have it. Let's quickly play that out. We have the foreign minister, and of course we'll try and rummage through a reaction coming from the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as well.
First and foremost, I would like to extend my condolences to the family and loved ones of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. The allegations that a representative of a foreign government may have been involved in the killing of a Canadian citizen here in Canada, on Canadian soil, is not only troubling, but it is completely unacceptable. If proven true, this would be a grave violation of our sovereignty and of the most basic rule of how countries deal with each other. We've been clear we will not tolerate any form of foreign interference. Since this was brought to our attention, we've been guided by three principles. The first one, we will seek the truth. The second one, we will protect Canadians at all times. And thirdly, we will protect Canada's sovereignty. I've conveyed these principles to my Indian counterpart, and I've also told him that we expect India's full collaboration to make sure that we get to the bottom of this. And as of today, and as a consequence, we've expelled a top Indian diplomat from Canada.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty.
That was Justin Trudeau. Of course, if I could read out exactly what Justin Trudeau said, and let me also tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the Ministry of External Affairs here in New Delhi has rejected those allegations that have been leveled by Canada. Let me just quickly read that out for you in terms of what Justin Trudeau said. It says here that, Mr. Speaker, today I'm rising to inform the House of an extremely serious matter. I just informed the leaders of opposition directly, but I want to speak to all Canadians. Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the Government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Canada is a rule of law country. The protection of our citizens and defense of our sovereignty are fundamental. Now, meanwhile, this is absolutely crucial, ladies and gentlemen. This is what the Indian government, the Ministry of External Affairs, has said in retaliation. It says, we have seen and rejected the statement of the Canadian Prime Minister in their parliament, and also the statement by their foreign minister, allegations of Government of India's involvement in any act of violence in Canada are absurd and motivated. Similar allegations were made by the Canadian Prime Minister to our Prime Minister and were completely rejected. It seems like they must be pointing to that G20 meet, that pull-aside meeting that they had. We are a democratic polity with a strong commitment to rule of law. Such unsubstantiated allegations seek to shift the focus from Khalistani terrorists and extremists who have been provided shelter in Canada and continue to threaten India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The inaction of the Canadian government on this matter has been a long-standing and continuing concern. That Canadian political figures have openly expressed sympathy for such elements remains a matter of deep concern. This is what the Ministry of External Affairs is saying in retaliation to the allegations that have been levelled by Justin Trudeau in the Canadian Parliament, and of course by the Canadian Foreign Minister, saying that essentially alleging that the Indian government has links and Indian government officials have links to the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who I mean in many realms is looked at as a pro-Khalistani supporter, who in many realms is looked at as a terrorist as well in back at home. Now let me also quickly read out the remaining portion. The space given in Canada to a range of illegal activities, including murders, human trafficking and organized crime, is not new. We reject any attempts to connect Government of India to such developments. We urge the Government of Canada to take prompt and effective legal action against all anti-India elements operating from their soil.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that there is going to be some fresh diplomatic tension between Canada and India, and definitely because we were talking about it earlier as well, that Canada's stand on the whole Khalistani issue has always been very diplomatic. And if you look at how they are covering the news right now, even if you go to any global international newspaper, they are addressing him as Khalistani leader, Canadian citizen, and the government of India is Canada is linking government of India with the killing of a Canadian citizen, a Khalistani leader. But we are talking about a Khalistani terrorist here, that India, and if you come to Indian newspapers, we are calling him a terrorist. So there's a difference. That is that is the problem that we have had with Pakistan as well for the longest of times, that stop sheltering terrorists who are a threat to our country, and Canada is doing the same thing again and again. And now they have come up and now they're saying that we are going to protect the sovereignty of our country. And what about the sovereignty of our country? I mean, Justin Trudeau has said that I went to G20 and I talked to PM Modi about this violence that is happening in around Khalistan, and he said that any involvement of the government would be unacceptable. But my point here right now is that how I get it that you might have had some source, you might have saw something that we the government of India, but we have rejected the plea as we should have. But I don't know, I understand that how are they trying to pan this out for India? How are they trying to paint the picture here? Because Khalistani extremism, India has been shouting aloud in the global space that this is not acceptable, this is not free speech, you are not protecting anybody's freedom of speech. This is clearly a case of extremism, and this is clearly a case of terror, a hatred. This is a scene of hate crime that we are talking about. And then we have the Canadian Prime Minister, and then we have the Foreign Minister alleging that
the recent anti-India referendum that was called when the Canadian Prime Minister was in the national capital. That is something appalling. More than that, people from various sectors and pro-Khalistani supporters as well, they have alleged foul play in the death of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He was found dead inside his own car, of course in suspicious conditions. And there was a proper news coverage of 3-4 top pro-Khalistani supporters who were killed in successive attacks. And a lot of people came out and started pointing fingers at Indian officials. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that's not the way it's supposed to happen. You can't come out all guns blazing at a particular government. There is absolutely no proof of this, which is why absurd and motivated is what India is saying on these allegations. Before we move on, let me tell you once again what the Ministry of External Affairs has said. the Ministry of External Affairs has made it quite clear, ladies and gentlemen, that they have rejected the statement of the Canadian Prime Minister in their parliament and also the statement of their foreign minister. Allegation of Government of India's involvement in any act of violence in Canada are absurd and motivated. Similar allegations were made by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and were completely rejected. We are a democratic polity with a strong commitment to rule of law. Such unsubstantiated allegations seek to shift the focus from Khalistani terrorists and extremists who have been provided shelter in Canada and continue to threaten India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The inaction of the Canadian government on this matter has been a long-standing and continuing concern. Well, Nancy, it seems like we'll have to wait and find out as to what happens on the diplomatic front. Justin Trudeau's visit to the New Delhi, it had a little bit of a sour taste towards the end. He refused to take our plane.
Yeah.
He was stuck here for another 2 days. That plane is also, by the way, 27 years old, is what we picked up. But towards the end, Rishi Sunak was also given pretty much a similar message, and so was Justin Trudeau. And how Justin Trudeau and the Canadian polity has been taking their stance over these anti-India elements that are being sheltered in Canada, how these two nations are finally going to meet each other halfway. Will there be dialogue? It could get real ugly. Meanwhile, let's move on. Let's shift our focus. Let's shift our focus to the Women's Quota Bill, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, Prahlad Patel, he took to the microblogging website X and he put out that tweet that, on Monday at the cabinet meeting, it was decided that the cabinet has passed the Women's Quota Bill. And I have some details here with me in terms of what is the Women Reservation Bill, so that I can, in simple terms, tell everybody what it actually is. But, before that, he had to delete that tweet, that X, that post on X. And a lot of people, they said it, then they did not say it. But what we're learning today, as of today morning, it will be taken up in the parliament, maybe on Wednesday, on Thursday, but it has been cleared by the cabinet. Now, what is the Women's Reservation Bill, ladies and gentlemen? Let me tell you. After local bodies, the next step is to ensure reservation in parliament. But this has been a difficult fight. The Women's Reservation Bill proposes to reserve 33% of the seats in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies for women. It was first introduced in the Lok Sabha as the 81st Amendment Bill in September 1996 by the Deve Gowda-led United Front government. The bill failed to get approval of the House and was referred to a joint parliamentary committee which submitted its report to the Lok Sabha in December 1996. Essentially, 33% reservation of seats in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. Steps before it becomes a law. The bill will need 2/3 support in each house of the parliament. That means the lower house and the upper house. Number 2, it will also need to be ratified by at least half the state legislatures. And number 3, delimitation exercise to identify the seats will be taken up after the freeze is lifted in 2026. So whatever happens, it might come into effect after 2026. It says bill could be passed easily as Congress, a key India party of the INDIA bloc, the opposition bloc, is welcoming it, is backing it. But Jairam Ramesh, Nancy, he took to the microblogging website. He said, very welcome step, this is very nice. But when the all-party meet was happening, you could have told us about it. I mean, we could have discussed about it. I mean, we welcome it. But now let's see when the bill comes in, we'll finally see what the salient features are in the bill. But the Congress saying we were backing it. Why didn't you bring it up in the all-party meet?
Yeah. I think Jairam Ramesh is now the flag bearer of, opposing the opposition's flag bearer. Please stop with this secrecy. He's so frustrated right now that,
But is he logical from where he's coming?
Definitely. I mean, this bill, obviously there are some complications to it. When you talk about women reservation bill, the 33% quota has to be given, but does caste play a role in it? So is it going to get overlaid? Are they going to be layers into it? Is something that, everybody will have to discuss right now. Is gender going to, triumph over caste? or is it going to, you know, be special reservation for the economically backward classes? So there are a lot of things to figure out yet, but it is a welcoming bill. I mean, if you would have said this in the all-party meeting, I think there should have been no harm done at that point as well. But I think that, you know, the politics will go on forever, you know, around the bill. But I think the victory right now here for the country is that after 27 years, we have been trying to pass this bill for 27 years now, and now that is finally the cabinet has approved it. I think that is a step forward that everybody should appreciate, whether it's opposition, whether, because everybody is welcoming the bill after all. So that is what's important, because although Prahlad, you know, he got excited and he posted on X that, you know, only Modi government can do it. I think I have his Twitter, yeah, only the Modi government had the moral courage to fulfill the demand for women's reservation, which was proved by the approval of the cabinet. Congratulations Narendra Modi ji, and congratulations to the Modi government, the minister said on X.
This is what the tweet that was deleted.
Yes, that is what he wrote on his X account.
Can you read that again? Can you read that again?
Yeah, definitely. He said that only the Modi government had the moral courage to fulfill the demand for women's reservation, which was proved by the approval of the cabinet. Congratulations Narendra Modi ji, and congratulations to the Modi government. So he already congratulated Modi ji, and he got so excited.
I think this is exactly why Jairam Ramesh had to intervene, because Jairam Ramesh is more worried about the BJP taking credit for this. He's saying when this is something that has been happening for the longest time, this is something that the Congress party has been asking for the longest time. But away from you know, all the political brinkmanship, let me tell you some salient and interesting points of this bill. Reading here from the Dainik Bhaskar, it says, Mahila Arakshan se nai Sansad ki prand pratishtha. It says here, Lok Sabha में 180 महिलाएं होंगी, अभी सिर्फ 78 हैं. I beg your, you know, pardon, my apologies. I don't know the exact Hindi for that. 75.
75.
75, but we need 78.
Yeah.
आरक्षण का तरीका 2010 में पेश किए गए बिल के अनुसार संसद और राज्यों की विधानसभा की 1/3 सीटें महिलाओं के लिए आरक्षित होंगी. संसद और राज्यों में इन सीटों को रोटेशन के आधार, रोटेशन अगेन आंसी सेलिएंट पॉइंट हियर, रोटेशन के आधार पर आरक्षित किया जाएगा. एससी और एसटी के लिए आरक्षित सीटों के कुल संख्या में से 1/3 उन समूहों की महिलाओं के लिए आरक्षित होंगी. यह व्यवस्था 2 चुनाव के लिए होगी. हर आम चुनाव के बाद आरक्षित सीटें बदल जाएंगी. So it's going to be a rotational basis.
Yeah, I think that is what I was talking about, that, you know, when you talk about reservation that are based on gender, there are certain layers that one has to look to. And, you know, we are talking about opposition here, that cabinet has approved it, but in the opposition, Samajwadi Party and RJD has been, you know, they have been the one who are opposing the bill. They are saying that we welcome the 33% reservation, but we want quota within quota. So they are asking that it's not going to be just, you know, you cannot just give 33% to women in all categories. So there has to be quota within the 33% also, that you were saying that 1/3 of the reservation should go to the SC, ST classes, people, women belonging to SC, SC class. So this layering will go on forever and ever, and this is something that one needs to iron out. The details still needs to get ironed out. But of course, you know, Jairam Ramesh, and you correctly pointed out that he is, you know, he's scared that Modi government cannot just come and...
Well, it seems like we have that tweet where he is, you know, congratulating the Narendra Modi dispensation. महिला आरक्षण की मांग पूरा करने
का नैतिक
साहस
मोदी सरकार में था. That is exactly what we are saying, that only he had the courage, and जो कैबिनेट की मंजूरी से साबित हो गया. अभिनंदन नरेंद्र मोदी जी और मोदी सरकार का अभिनंदन. So he has congratulated Modi ji, he has given the credit to Modi ji, that thank you so much for bringing the bill, for passing it after 27 years. So it's a big victory, and of course it's going to paint you know, the center in a good picture right now, because this is a bill that I don't think so. If anybody opposes the bill, then they are going to get, you know,
are there any arguments that are against the bill?
It's not against the bill. That is what I'm talking about. Everybody who is opposing the bill just
I have some information here in the docket. It says Professor Nivedita Menon has written that opponents of reservation for women argue that the idea runs counter to the principle of equality enshrined in the Constitution. They say that women will not be competing on merit if there is reservation, which could lower their status in society. Second, women are unlike, say, a caste group, which means that they are not a homogeneous community. Therefore, the same arguments made for caste-based reservation cannot be made for women. Third, women's interests cannot be isolated from other social, economic and political strata. Fourth, some argue that reservation of seats in parliament would restrict the choice of voters to women candidates. This has led to suggestions of alternate methods, including reservation for women in political parties and dual member constituencies. But some parties have pointed out that even these may not work, as parties may feel women candidates in unwinnable seats, or women may contest the elections but not get voted to power, or they may get relegated to a secondary role. Fifth and finally, as men hold primary power as well as key positions in politics, unfortunately, some have even argued that bringing women into politics could destroy the ideal family. That doesn't seem like a credible argument over there. But Nancy, being a woman, a lady yourself, how are you looking at this development, number one? Because it's a big day. First day of the new parliament, and it seems like one of the first things that are going to be taken up is going to be something as iconic and progressive as 33% reservation in Lok Sabha and state assemblies for women.
I mean, definitely it's a victory for our country, because when we talk about, issues like that, and I would be so, frustrated if, if you give 33%, reservation to women and then you make them come and just talk about issues that are related to just women. That is not going to be fair. I feel like, when we are talking about equality, when we are talking about giving platform, I would love to see a full-fledged, participation from women representatives, because I was reading the figures here and they are saying that share among MPs have not seen a similar increase for the past 27 years, or from, from the time India got independent. In the first Lok Sabha election held in 1951, only 22 women MPs, like 4.41% of the whole MP, in the parliament were just women. So only 22 women were there, and the figure has not changed much. We are talking about 1951 to 2019, and the figure has just risen to 78 women. So I think, it was troubling to see that why there is not active participation of women. I mean, it's sad, but it's the truth.
So before we move into the new parliament, there are a couple of things to look at. Number one, we've spoken about what the women reservation bill is essentially. 33% reservation for women in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. Apart from that, there is cabinet approval for this. Next up, there are 3 steps that have been very nicely pointed out here. It says the bill will need 2/3 support in each house of the parliament. It will need to be ratified by at least half the state legislatures. Delimitation exercise to identify these seats will be taken up after the freeze is lifted in 2026. More importantly, what we learned in the Dainik Bhaskar was that this is going to be rotational. These seats might rotate as well. Now, all of this is going to happen. It's going to be taken up in the parliament. That process is going to take its natural course. On the other hand, politics. The BJP supporters are saying that this is all because of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the opposition parties, especially the Congress party, who, by the way, is welcoming this decision and is a key fulcrum of the INDIA bloc. वो कह रहे हैं कि we welcome the decision, but why the secrecy? You could have told us about it. Either way, good step, welcome step.
Yeah, definitely.
All right then. We'll keep bringing you updates, and of course we'll have experts later on in the day to really talk about the Women's Quota Bill, the for and the against. It's going to be a nice discussion. Do tune in for that as well. But ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. Nation bids adieu to all Parliament as Prime Minister Modi saluted Nehru, Shastri and other ex-parliamentarians. The shift from the old to the new. You know what they say, Nancy. Change is the only thing that's inevitable.
Yeah, the
old
change is the
always
only constant.
gives way to new.
I mean, definitely.
Well, yeah, sorry to cut you short. India's new parliament, your opinion?
I mean, Kabir, I have to be honest here. I even got emotional while hearing to, all the speeches, and everybody was.
Prime Minister Modi said that देखिए झड़प वड़प होती रहती है, लोगों के बीच में मामला गरमा भी जाता है, लेकिन देश सबसे आगे, देश सबसे सर्वोच्च स्थान पर रखा जाएगा. देश, the Bharat is paramount, and he took names. He said Tryst with Destiny by Jawaharlal Nehru at the stroke of midnight. I think the speech by the Prime Minister right in the beginning in the Lok Sabha. First and foremost, there was a lot of hangama because the minute the Prime Minister walked in, the national anthem played, and the speaker wasn't on, their chair.
Yeah.
So it had to be played again. And the opposition, of course, Gaurav Gogoi, one of the loudest voices over there, and Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary as well from the Congress party, saying, why is this happening? And Om Birla had to say that, there's going to be a thorough probe and investigation into this. Please, let's just, move on. Let's let the Prime Minister have his say. And apart from that, today in the new Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, some more interesting things are going to take place. What are you picking up from? What are some of the headlines telling us? Because there's a big event that's lined up today. Everybody is meeting up in the lower, in the central hall of the old Parliament. There's going to be a photo session. There's going to be, everybody's going to get together. Speeches by Manmohan Singh, Shibu Soren, Menka as well.
Yeah.
Some of the oldest parliamentarians that we have living at the moment. They're going to finally shift to the new Parliament. Some 10 odd members of Parliament, female members of Parliament, in handwritten notes, have written an ode to the old Parliament building. It has gotten a little nostalgic, let me tell you. The old Parliament building, it has its own flavor to it, right?
Definitely. I mean, on the show earlier we have said that I get it, the new Parliament building is beautiful, but the old Parliament building and the hangama that we used to see in Parliament is going to get missed definitely. But well, as PM Modi said that we leave this building with the hope for the future. And I have to say that I got really emotional that why everybody got so emotional with the old Parliament building, that this Parliament has seen the development of the country, from independence to now. This Parliament has seen discussions, rich discussions, and I think it was very, it was a very beautiful moment when Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he came out and he gave the credit to he praised Nehru.
All the other ex Prime Ministers. Let me just take a couple of quotes from what Narendra Modi ji said. He said, the echoes of Pandit Nehru's Tryst with Destiny's speech in this house will keep inspiring us. This is the house where Atalji had said, and the words still resonate, governments will come and go, parties will be made and unmade, this country should survive.
Yeah.
Under Indira Gandhi, this house had supported struggle for liberation of Bangladesh. It was also witness to the attack on democracy during emergency and return of robust democracy. He also, cited the attack on the Parliament building, the terrorist attack.
Yeah.
He said, when I entered this building as a member of Parliament, I bowed down and honored the temple of democracy. I could have never imagined that a child belonging to a poor family living on the railway platform would ever be able to enter the Parliament. It is the power of democracy. The Prime Minister, he does know how to, change the sentiments to being really emotional. PM praised, Shastri, he praised Narasimha Rao. Manmohan Singh, mind you, attended the Rajya Sabha session in the wheelchair, and he's not keeping really well. His health is a little fragile at the moment, but he never misses an opportunity to come out and vote, no matter what election, and he did not miss that as well. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, who's 90 years old, attended the Rajya Sabha proceedings in a wheelchair. He is likely to speak at the Central Hall today along with Shibu Soren and Menka Gandhi.
I mean, definitely, the way he just gave credit where it was due to Nehru, and the way he said that, this Parliament building, starting from Bhagat Singh, the bombing of Parliament, to Narasimha Rao, and how he introduced new economic policies. I think it was such a beautiful moment, and when you think about it, Parliament really is, this is a celebration of democracy that we are talking about, because then we have opposition there are rich discussions happening in the Parliament. And I think Modi ji was also smart enough. I mean, he got emotional, but he was like, 9 years of the Modi government should not be forgotten. He said that, stating that the world is talking about the India story, especially after the success of G20 summit and the successful moon landing of the Chandrayaan 3. The Prime Minister said that those were the result of collective efforts. He listed the landmark legislation of his government during the last 9 years. Of course, the abrogation of the Article 370 became possible, and he listed out all the achievements that he had done, and all the important bills that he passed, including GST. in the Lok Sabha and the Parliament session.
But look at that, Nancy. I mean, the building does look quite spectacular.
Definitely. I mean, you know, the first time I think the video got released, my first reaction was like, oh my God, this looks like a proper, you know, complex.
United Nations General Assembly.
Yeah. Well, I would say, you know, I won't compare this to West anymore. This is what, you know, this has an Indian touch. This has a proper rich Indian culture touch. And, you know, the way, I mean, you know, Parliament is something that we have grown up to see Parliament as, you know, that lakdi ki, you know, that chairs where and everybody, you know, this is something so luxurious, so royal.
I have some information in terms of what is on display, what is going to be there. Teak wood sourced from Nagpur. There is sandstone that has been procured from Sarmathura. Carpets from Mirzapur. Bamboo wood flooring from Agartala. Stone jali works from Rajnagar. Ashok emblem from Aurangabad, Maharashtra and Jaipur and Rajasthan. Ashok Chakra from Indore and Madhya Pradesh. Lakha red from Lakha in Jaisalmer. White marble from Ambaji in Rajasthan. Kesharia green stone was procured from Udaipur. Stone carving done in Abu Road and Udaipur. M sand from Chakari Dadri in Haryana. Brass work in precast trenches from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. False ceiling steel structure from Daman and Diu. So it's like it's got a little bit from all across the country.
I mean, definitely you will be needing, there's a need to decorate this Parliament building because it is historic that, you know, the shift, and I am very excited to see the shift from the old Parliament. I was reading a report and it's saying that, you know, the Prime Minister will walk barefoot with Constitution in his hand and all the other MPs are going to, you know, follow him behind barefoot. So he's going to walk on his foot from, you know, the old Parliament building to the new Parliament building. So I think it's going to be a spectacular journey. You know that, and
64,500 square meter. That's the total area. The seating capacity is now going to be 1,224 members of Parliament that are going to be able to sit together. The cost is 970 crore rupees approximately. Now, in terms of the old versus new, let me tell you, the current building was completed in 1927 and began in 1921. It took 6 years to finish. This building has taken only 2 years to finish. The current building is at the Sansad Marg. The new building is at the Central Vista area. The current building is a 2-story building. The new building is going to be a 4-story building, Nancy. In terms of area, this is almost 3 times the size of the current building. In terms of seating capacity, we have almost about, on average, about 800 odd seating capacity in the current building, 1,224 in the new one. The earlier building was built for 83 lakh rupees, inaugurated by Lord Irwin, the then Governor General. It was designed by, you know, Lutyens Delhi, famous for his architectural design. A lot of British values and colonial era strings that were attached to that building as well. More so, a lot of cracks that have been developed. The building was in distress. A lot of speakers over the ages and over the years have, you know, written to the government that, you know, this building is going under a lot of distress. There was a lot of ad hoc construction on it. Kahin kursi nahi hai to kursi laga di. You know, for a central session, for a joint session, you had to put chairs in the aisles because you couldn't seat all the members of Parliament inside the central hall in the old building. But this new building, well, it seems like in terms of modern technology, in terms of advancements, in terms of the marble, texture, culture, color, everything absolutely phenomenal and on display towards the second half of the day today, Nancy. The parliamentarians, of course, led by the Prime Minister, are going to make their way and shift finally to the new building of the Parliament on the auspicious occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi. I mean, what better than that? All right, then, before we, you know, talk about other stories as well, and let me tell you, this is going to be a rolling coverage. Stay on to News 9 Live because we're going to cut across to the old Parliament where that joint session, historical photographs, let me tell you, are going to take place with the likes of Shibu Soren, Menka Gandhi, and of course Manmohan Singh, some of the longest serving parliamentarians are going to be there. They're going to give speeches in the Central Hall. Do stay on with us. But let's quickly cover up all the other stories that we have in our docket for the viewers over here, Nancy. We must touch upon a little bit, on the Kota suicides as well. This is the 25th death by suicide in Kota this year alone, and it should raise a lot of alarm bells in a lot of sectors, in the parents' community, in the teaching community, in the education sector, in the coaching sector, in the government of Rajasthan. I mean, you hail from Rajasthan as well, and I'm sure you have your own friends who must have visited Kota, one or the other. 25th Kota suicide has rocked the nation again, Nancy.
I mean, it's a pattern that goes around in Kota. Once you enter the city, you can understand the pressure already, because all the students, they are like, the Kota is, filled with students coming out from UP, from all the neighboring states to prepare for, their exams. But the pressure is just so high that one, you are made it feel that cracking the exam is the biggest goal of your life, and if you're not able to do it, then you're a loser. And that is what leads to, young kids, we are talking about 16-year-old, 19-year-old, 17-year-old who are committing suicide like that, just because, they were not able to clear the exam. So it's important that, government especially, and I think it goes way beyond this. It's not about just mental health that we're talking about, but why are the students being put in pressure is because there is proper hierarchy system that goes on in Kota. If you go to any coaching classes, you'll see they have this kind of packages, this gold package, premium package, silver package for students, that, if you pay this much for this coaching class, there's a 100% chance that you're going to get passed. If you pay this much, you are going to. So this hierarchy that goes around, and the way, kids are being pressurized by this private coaching institute who have a monopoly in Kota, because you can go around and it's filled with coaching institutes who are just trying to get students into it, and who just
it says here that as suicides mount, government is under pressure. SP Dharamveer Singh said no suicide note was recovered from Priya's room. Police are conducting a probe to ascertain the reason behind the extreme step taken by the girl. The mounting cases have put the government under pressure, as the administration has been unable to find a solution despite issuing guidelines for PG accommodations for implementing a slew of suicide prevention measures. Last week, the state's UHD minister, Shanti Dhariwal, faced flack when he claimed that a Jharkhand girl who had hanged herself from the ceiling fan in her hostel room had stated in her letter that she was taking her life because of a love affair. Police had denied recovering any suicide note from the teen's room or finding any clues of an affair. Earlier, Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot had appealed to parents not to put pressure on their children to crack medical or engineering entrance exams.
I mean, it's not the pressure from the parents, it's just not that, when you leave your, and these kids who go there, they are not living with their parents, they are living there alone, and they are enrolled in coaching classes where it's fed into their mind that if you don't crack this exam, there is nothing more.
Societal pressure is also, a lot, Nancy.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just, parents' constant bickering. There's a lot of societal pressure. People want to get somewhere. The idea of success today is so vain and materialistic, but it seems like that's the way that it has to be. That's the wall everybody's trying to climb. And if you don't have the big bucks supporting you, well, you don't have the stairs to climb that wall anymore, which is why you're at the bottom rung and societal pressures kick in, which is why everybody loves a rags to riches story. A successful rag to riches story is much better than a successful story, from its beginning. But that's the sad truth that we're looking at.
We are not talking about, 25-year-olds. We're talking about kids here who are just 16-year-old, who are just 17-year-old teens who are just there to prepare for exam. And it says,
and even when we're talking about that, let me just take you through this little story that I have here. Of course, we're digressing, but take a look at this. It says, prank takes tragic turn. Visually impaired mom fails to save teenager. A 13-year-old's suicide prank turned into a cruel joke and double tragedy for his visually challenged mother from birth in Uttar Pradesh, Jalgaon, when he slipped and the noose turned fatal, drawing the life out of him as his 3 younger siblings screamed and their mom flailed about hopelessly with rescue attempts doomed by her lack of vision. Sangeeta, who's 50 years old, visually impaired from birth, was left cursing her fate at son Jus's loss on Sunday at their home in Orai town. Had God not taken my eyesight away, I would have saved my child. He died in front of me and I could not do anything, is what she says.
I mean, tragic.
Stomach turning.
It's a joke and nobody has planned it already, and then it turns out to something tragic that you are going to live with forever. And you know, we were talking about, you know, instances like this. I was just reading the story about this girl as well. You know, she might have gone to Kota with the aspiration of becoming a doctor. She was a NEET aspirant.
Right.
She went there, you know, to make a bright future for her.
To maybe support, help the parents back at home.
And she
and
ended
that's
up
the situation in most of these cases, you know, Nancy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you go there, you want to build a career out of it, and then you go there and you realize, okay, this is the last thing left. This is the biggest goal of my life, and if I'm not able to achieve it, then I'm worth nothing. But I think that's not true at all. Like, you know, there needs to be some counseling done. There needs to get a, you know, there should be a check on the coaching institute as well, who are pressuring students just so that they can get fees from them.
You're absolutely right.
Because, you know, once you fail an attempt, even if you feel like that you don't want to go for a second attempt, even if you want to divert your career and you want to see for alternative career options, in the coaching institute, they don't let it happen. They you know, they pressurize you into, you know, paying a fees, you know, repeating the year again and again with them so that they can run their businesses without any flaw. So I think that is something that needs to get checked, and the government and the parents especially, you know, have to go there and, you know, keep a check on the counseling and
you're absolutely right. And but I think it's that sword is hanging on a lot of other people, not just the parents or the government. Meanwhile, let's shift our focus, ladies and gentlemen. Always difficult to move on from you know, fatal news. But let's talk about some good news as well. Aditya L1, our solar class observatory, you know, aircraft that has been put into the space to study the sun after the moon. Well, some good new developments on that front as well, because STEPS, which is you know, a suprathermal spectrometer, that has begun taking information about Earth's outer, you know, external layer particles, and it is also learning about, you know, the magnetic, you know, scientific experiments that are being carried out by the STEPS payload. Apart from this, there are 7 you know, unique payloads that are part of the Aditya L1, and these are going to continue to work in the next 3 months when it is in that cruise mode and it's going to finally reach Lagrange point 1. It has performed another maneuver. It has now finally headed towards the trans-Lagrangian point, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a cruise. It's going to be a chill cruise because it doesn't have to do anything. It just has to keep constantly just move there. It's going to take a lot of time. The gravitational highway, you know, what we call it, that has already happened. It is now moving from the Earth to the Earth-Sun L1 point. It is reaching there. But in the meantime, there are several experiments that it is doing. Right, Nancy?
As well. Yeah, I was reading about it, although I don't understand scientific terms much, but I was reading about it, and, you know, we are collecting data 50,000 kilometers away from the Earth already.
50,000 kilometers away.
Away from the Earth as well. And, you know, the data that is that the STEPS that you just mentioned is going to send is going to help the scientists to, you know, talk about the magnetic fields, to, you know, they are going to unravel that what are the particles that are present, you know, around the, you know, solar particles as well. So it's going to, it's really helping, and it's going to continue the experiment until it reaches that L1 point, and it's going to continue that experiment after that as well. So, you know, once it's still not that close to sun, but the moment it reaches the L1 point, it's still going to give us the scientific information, and I think it's going to definitely help, you know, our scientists and the development, and it's going to give a bigger leap to the scientists in solar exploration, because we were talking about, you know, the success of Chandrayaan 3, and now we have Aditya L1, and I have to say this, that after the success of Chandrayaan 3, I think there was not, people were not, you know, keeping an eye out on the each, you know, small developments of a scientific program before this, because now people are actually interested. Oh, 4th maneuver is also completed. Oh, there are going to be 5 maneuvers, and people are keeping a check on it. That is something is very interesting, because, you know, the interest that especially the young generation is showing, and, you know, there is keeping tabs of the Aditya L1 mission, that what is the success till now, what is it going to do, why are we studying the sun, what are the scientific objectives of this Aditya L1 mission. I think it's very important that people are so keen to know what it's going to do, and it's definitely going to give India an upper hand in the space exploration agency, especially because this is something that we're talking about is going to unravel a lot of secrets, answer a lot of questions, especially about the particles, about the all the exploration that can happen, all the experiment, and we are talking about solar energy here, which is going to one way or the other solve the energy crisis that we have today. So I think that is definitely going to solve bigger problems in that sense. So I'm really looking forward to what Aditya L1 has for the ISRO scientists and what they can make out of it.
So we're off to Sun Earth L1 point, the Trans-Lagrangian point 1 insertion TL1I maneuver is performed successfully, ladies and gentlemen. The spacecraft is now on a trajectory that will take it to the Sun Earth L1 point. It will be injected into an orbit around L1 through a maneuver after about 110 days. That's exactly what I was talking about, 3 months. Yeah. It's going to take about 3 months. This is the 5th consecutive time ISRO has successfully transferred an object on a trajectory towards another celestial body or location in space, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we're going to continue to bring you the latest updates from Aditya L1's updates, ISRO's first ever solar observatory class aircraft that we have sent into the space. It is now sending us information back from 50,000 kilometers, and the final point, Nancy, is 1.5 lakh kilometers away from where it has an unobstructed view of the sun, and it will continue to send us information back. All right, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, let's shift our focus to Jammu and Kashmir, where in Srinagar there was an attack on the CRPF that was thwarted successfully, even as an Anantnag encounter is already on, and we'll talk about that as well. In Srinagar, the terrorists fired at a CRPF vehicle in Srinagar.
And it's a good thing that the attack was repulsed, and
take a look at that.
Yeah.
CCTV footage of how there was an attack.
I mean,
there you have it. There you can see the gun wielding man. It looks like he's hitting the auto rickshaw, but it seems like the target was the CRPF. Look at the people that are now running inside the shops towards the left and right of your screens. Now all the personnel that were on the ground and were alert, they repelled the attack quickly. They thwarted this particular attack on the CRPF in Srinagar. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly move on, because what's more important to talk about is the Anantnag encounter. Let's shift our focus to Anantnag. In the Anantnag anti-terror operation, it is the day 7 of that particular operation by the joint forces. The Anantnag toll has now reached to 5, Nancy.
Yeah.
Body of a missing soldier has also been found. So we lost the 3 Bravehearts earlier. That toll has now reached to 5. The death toll of security forces killed during the shootout in North Kashmir's Anantnag district rose to 5 with the discovery of the body of a missing army soldier on Monday. The body of Jawan Pradeep Kumar was found on a day elite commandos launched a full-scale assault to seek and kill terrorists responsible for the death of 5 security men, including Colonel Manpreet Singh and Major Ashish Dhonchak, both from 19 Rashtra Rifles and Jammu and Kashmir Police DSP Humayun Bhatt near Gadol village in Kokarnag area of Anantnag. Pradeep went missing during the shootout that had claimed the officers' lives on Tuesday night. The body has been found.
I mean, it's now day 7, and I was reading a ground report yesterday as well. We have been sending, drones, we have been sending equipments, high weaponries there, but, the terrorists are still, out of, we are still not getting a hold of this terrorists. But I was reading that, here, that 3 overground workers operating for militants held, said the J&K police in the Jammu Kashmir Monday detained 3 overground workers allegedly working for the militants in the district, and the police said that the 3 men were identified as Zahur ul Hasan, Nika Kamal and Tausif ul Nabi of the Jami Masjid area. And they also said that the crackdown was aimed at curbing alleged anti-national activities and protecting youth of the district being lured by the banned organization. So, there is some development. The army is, they are actively responding to the situation. But if you think about it, for 7 days, a whole week, there have
And
been
that's not
intense.
all, Nancy. That's not all. Because the forces have expanded the Anantnag operation to neighboring villages as well.
Yeah.
The operation against terrorists in Anantnag entered its 6th day amid heavy rain as security teams on Monday pressed forward their offensive against the heavily armed men, estimated to be 3 to 4, who had been launching attacks from strategic positions in the thick woods, mountain caves and other natural hideouts. The forces expanded their operation to neighboring villages and fired mortar shells towards the forest. Drones and helicopters were deployed for surveillance. A strict cordon was maintained around the forest to plug all escape routes. The security forces claim to have found the burnt body of a terrorist near a cave on Sunday. So the burnt body was also found. We did hit with our mortar attacks. We did hit them as well. The slain man's identity is yet to be confirmed. DNA samples were taken from the family members of a local terrorist named Uzair Khan, who is believed to be part of a group responsible for the initial attack. So is that charred up body of the terrorist in fact Uzair Khan? Well, we'll have to find out. Meanwhile, the Anantnag toll has reached to 5, even as the joint operation has been expanded to the neighboring villages as well. This is day 7. We've lost 5 brave hearts so far in this particular operation, but the joint operation is going to persist because, Nancy, we have to live with this. And if we have to live with this, we have to weed out this terror. And something's got to give. That's the idea. All right. Well, it seems like it's time for us to end today's Page 1 segment. Of course, there are a couple of stories that we did want to talk about, could not touch upon this time around. But I'm just really happy that we're shifting to the new Parliament building.
Definitely.
It's a beautiful building. It's a historic moment that we're witnessing, Nancy, today. But even as we're going to the new Parliament, it's important that we take a look at the old Parliament building as well, the roots of the Indian democracy. India's new Parliament building is a testament to the ideals imagined by ancient and medieval India. The building blocks of new Parliament are placed firmly on the democratic foundation that has been built over centuries. News 9 Plus, ladies and gentlemen, the world's first news OTT, has put out a special documentary on the old Parliament and the shift, the progress, the journey of the old Parliament to the new Parliament. Take a look at that and we'll come back for more. Maybe in the meantime, all the parliamentarians are already on their way to the old Parliament for their central session where Manmohan Singh, you've got Shibu Soren, you've got Menka Gandhi, those stalwarts of the Indian Parliament, they're going to be addressing the joint session. Take a look at this this documentary, and we'll come back for more.
हम राष्ट्र को भी एक परिवार के रूप में देखते हैं और विश्व को भी एक परिवार मानते हैं. वसुधैव कुटुंबकम.
आयम निजा परोवेति गणना लघु चेतसाम उदार चरितानाम तो वसुधैव कुटुंबकम. Can you imagine, these are thousands and thousands of years ago, Indian scriptures have emphasized some of these things which in my view are fundamental to democracy.
Once upon a time in 11th century India, there was a king named Raja Bhoj. His life's mission was to sit on King Vikramaditya's throne. It was made of gold with 32 life-size statues. As soon as Raja Bhoj would want to sit, one of those statues would come to life and tell him a tale of King Vikramaditya's greatness. If only he could match that, could he find himself worthy of the throne.
The king is not divine.
It is the legitimacy from the people that makes a person ruler. Only those people were called Raja who were beyond the dynasty, beyond the self, and ruled for the people.
There were elements of what you would consider today's modern democratic practice in the Arthashastra's prescriptions to the monarch, in how he was supposed to rule, how he was to get a sense of the discontent of his people.
India is a secular democratic nation because we are civilizationally democratic.
Rig Veda mentions the Gramini, the Atharva Veda talks about sabhas and samitis and so on. There's a whole tradition in the Vedas and certainly during the Buddhist era, which is also documented. The Buddhists had ganas and sanghas in which there were congregations of people who would collectively make decisions.
Since the colonial politics and domination, the Indian mind has been compelled to become Eurocentric. Therefore, whatever happens in Europe becomes the history of the world.
We were always fed with the Greek or the British, for example, parliamentary traditions. That the British taught us parliamentary traditions. I say the time has come to challenge that because of the evidence that is now available on what was happening in India thousands of years ago.
The sheen of this ancient past considerably wore off during the colonial rule, where the British sought to put their stamp on a proud civilizational people. But India, that is Bharat, stood firm in times of tribulations to keep our democratic traditions alive.
The first democracy in the world can be traced in the Vedic age when there were Sabha and Samiti. They were equivalent to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, or in US, Senate and House of Representatives, or in Britain, House of Lords and House of Commons, the Sabha and Samiti. What the biggest feature of the Sabha and Samiti was, they have been regularly in session, consistency in the session, debating, discussing, and the women's representation. They were the learned people. So the birth of democracy, India can claim, and that claim is based on substantive fact.
From Ashoka's edict reaching out to the people to the Sabhas and Samitis of ancient India, the DNA of democracy is what defines our nation. And let's say from rules that the monarch or the Raja abided by to decentralization of power, our ancestors had put systems in place that have developed into a more modern institutions today.
Originally, the Panchayati system goes back very, very far in our history, and we have descriptions of Vaishali, we have descriptions of some of the early village republics, you can call them. Gandhiji used to idealize the ways in which villages organized themselves and took their own decisions. And he almost imagined in Hind Swaraj, you see Gandhiji talking about India as a sort of collection of self-sufficient village republics. So there is an ancient tradition, no doubt about that. The Lichavis had a very democratic organization, the villages.
And that's exactly why history matters, because it becomes a part of our textbooks. It becomes a part of us, our narrative, and the way we see the world, and how the world perceives us.
Let's talk about ancient texts and the modern Indian constitution. I will say the first idea which has come from the past for thousands of years, it has travelled down to this constitution, is Republican form of government. I value a Republican form of government to be very central to the idea of democracy, because there is no king or queen, and equality before law, which is very central to democracy, is established. Universal adult suffrage. In India, it was universal. Everybody had a right, irrespective of caste, gender, and so on.
But Indian is the only civilization which can have something like Varanasi, a 1,000-year-old city, being converted into a modern smart city. Because the two coexist. I mean, here you are at the tipping, the cutting edge of technology. You're landing on the moon, you are all over the moon now, you got a lunar mission, you're doing all those things, and yet you have basic grassroots level developmental challenges in the agricultural sector, in your urban local bodies, etc. But that's the beauty of India.
As a nation state of the world, India's new parliament building is a testament of the ideals imagined by ancient and medieval India.
I am told that those who went to the inauguration were able to see a number of reflections of the democratic traditions of ancient India in the architecture, in the dioramas on display, murals, paintings, and so on. I look forward to savoring that myself, because I think certainly democracy is embodied in a parliament building, and the architecture and the decor of the building should also pay some tribute to democracy.
The new parliament, of course, it's already been unveiled, but when you all get a closer, continued free run of it, hopefully in a few days' time, you'll see how it has brought together absolutely cutting-edge modern technology, all right, with a complete back to the Indian Renaissance.
The reason for survival of democracy in India is not only politics was based on democratic principle. We are the people who believe in a spiritual democracy.
Well, so that's the documentary. You can catch it on the News 9 Plus application. If you haven't downloaded it already, it's available across various platforms on the iPhone, iOS Play Store and the Google Play Store as well for all Android users out there. It can be downloaded on your televisions, your iPads, you name it. Short, sweet documentaries, 9 minutes, 8 minutes, in the time that you have, the stories that you want to know. The idea is to keep you, informed and leave you a little awe-inspired with these documentaries as well. That's essentially the idea. Download it, give it a shot. But Nancy, your take on the documentary, several other talking heads in the documentary kept on saying that the tradition and culture of India that has been safeguarded in the new building. The new building of Parliament has various mosaics and murals that do depict and talk about India's cultural history as well. We have taken up from the West in certain places and spaces. It's part of our history.
Yeah.
And decolonization, according to me, is a process that will go on for the rest of, till we know time.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you can never be completely decolonized. You'll always continue to be, constantly decolonize yourself. But Shashi Tharoor, several other people in that documentary, unka reaction, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I was listening to it, and when I was reading an article as well, they were talking about how they are going to gift all the MPs a coin, copy of the constitution. And I think that is what, the constitution on its own is such a, it depicts the journey of our country that, we are the largest democracy right now. And to create a constitution around that, a written constitution, I must say, would have been so difficult. I mean, I can't even imagine the kind of debates that must have happened at that time. And that debates happened in the same old parliament building that we are saying goodbye to, we are saying a farewell to. But still, the way we have preserved the culture, the way we have preserved the political history of India, because India has never had if you go back and if you look back at the history of the political political turmoil that we had, we got independence, then we had to sit down and draft a constitution for a country who just recovered from 200 years of colonial rule, and to let people know that this is what is your right. And at that time we were even facing partition as well. So at that time, you come up with a system. You come up with a constitution, although I wouldn't say it's colonized, but you know, it's influenced by a lot of countries. We took up, you know, we adapted, and I think that is what democracy is about, that, you know, you take out good parts from other nations and then you build on it, then you learn on it. I think that was something really important, and the way we have preserved that culture, the way the discussions are still happening, whether it's upper house, whether it's lower house, whether people are, and I think it's Kharge yesterday correctly pointed it out that, you know, Nehru's commitment to having a strong opposition, because that is what creates a democracy, right? If there is one party and nobody is opposing that, then there is no meaning. I think center should also, BJP should also, you know, come ahead and welcome opposition, because a strong opposition is, it's always fun to have two parties discussing, debating about issues. I think
it's
that's
good for democracy as well.
Yeah, I mean, that creates
But
the
you know
discussion.
what I like the most, Nancy, is the fact that even as we're looking at these visuals of a beautiful new parliament that we're shifting to today, it's not like one session was adjourned sine die and then the new one began in the new place. It's a transfer.
Yeah.
This special session began in the old parliament building and will now continue and move on and get shifted whilst in the same session to the new building. So it's not like, you know, chutti ke baad naya campus hai. It's going to be a new campus in the same session.
Yeah, I mean, that is what we're talking. The only motto was to change the building, not the principle, not the ideas that our democracy, that our parliament has built on, because that is, I think that is what.
What do you find the most beautiful part of this building?
Well, I have to say, you know, I liked Rajya Sabha better. Because, you know, because the royal red color, you know, it just attracts me. Red is one of my favorite color, and you know, the red royal, you know, the look of Rajya Sabha. I think, you know, I've always, and then you call it the upper house. I mean, it's so royal, everything about it.
These colors, of course, have been retained. They're traditional and conventional to our history as well.
Yeah.
Lok Sabha always has that green, but now you have a little. You know, the carpet also just has a different sheen to it. If it's not green, then it could be a, you know, a tone and a temperature of teal. They're just playing around with the temperatures and the tones and you know, the color scheme of red and green. This is the Rajya Sabha. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, you can look at the seating arrangement.
Even the wall behind it's got a little orange tint to it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you see, you know, the speaker and the Ashok Chakra and everything, it's so beautifully, you know, the interior, you have a LED screen as well, so that people who are sitting behind can also see what is happening, they can hear it, and the aisles are much wider, it's so spacious. Because now we'll be able to see, because I was seeing, you know, the no motion confidence and everything, and I felt like, you know, it's clamped up, you know, if you see the proceeding now, if you go and now I think we'll see the hearing, it's going to be more spacious, it's going to be more comfortable for the speakers as well. So yeah, I think there was a need for a new parliament building, but I think the more important thing is that we don't lose the essence of democracy, we don't lose the essence of, you know, we don't leave that in the old parliament building, we take up with us, we walk to the new parliament building with that principle, with that ideas, and you know, the way, you know, that is the celebration, because parliament is one of the pillars of democracy and it's important to preserve that. And I think we are doing a great job at it. Look at the new parliament, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, and the Prime Minister cited his own rise as proof of people's, you know, trust in the parliament. And that was also interesting to see, because he said that, you know, I never thought that, you know, somebody who belonging from a real poor family is going to make it into the parliament, let alone be the Prime Minister. I can guarantee you, I can tell you that this actually is the temple of democracy and people's trust in the parliament. Nehru and Shastri to Indira, Rao and Atal, Prime Minister Modi hailed all former Prime Ministers. He also recalled emergency and cash for vote scam under Congress Prime Ministers. So it's not like he did not talk about that as well. Subtle messaging by the Prime Minister over there.
I mean, it's important to, you know, have that discussion, and in Rajya Sabha also, you know, Adhir Ranjan, he said that, you know, there's fear in the democracy that only one party dictatorship is going to, you know, overpower all the discussion right here. So the need for strong opposition is there. The way Kharge advised center to, you know, change your politics, and the way he just, you know, so casually said that naam badalne se kuch nahi hoga, desh ke halat badlo. And I think, you know, I think they were right that, opposition really needs to, because there was this, whole wave that boycotting parliament sessions, not actually, attending the sessions, not actually going to the discussion. I think that is a big mistake, because, in a democracy, we are the people of the country, and we are going to, really want the opposition to come in and participate, to come in and share their opinions, to share their views. I think that is what most important, that people come around, have rich discussion. That is, I think the parliament building should, echo of the discussions, echo of the important bills that are passed.
Echo of the oldest, the youngest, and cash for vote scam, the oldest, the youngest, and the longest serving members of parliament as well. PM Narendra Modi in his speech mentioned that late Indrajit Gupta and two current members of parliament, Shafiqur Rahman Barq and Chandramani Murmu. Indrajit Gupta, he was the longest serving MP of the Lok Sabha, alumnus of St. Stephen's College, Delhi, and an outstanding leader of the communist movement. He was first elected to the House in 1960 in the by-election from West Bengal, and continued to be a CPI member from different constituencies in the state, except for a short notice period between 1977 and 1980. In terms of Shafiqur Rahman Barq, 93-year-old Barq is the oldest MP of the Lok Sabha. He is a Samajwadi Party MP from Sambhal in Uttar Pradesh. He first became a member of the House in 1996 from Muradabad in UP. He was in the center of the controversies in 2019 after he refused to chant Vande Mataram in Parliament during his oath-taking ceremony. And then Chandrani Murmu. She won the Lok Sabha election in 2019 from Keonjhar, Odisha at the age of 25. The Biju Janata Dal member, Murmu, is currently the youngest member of parliament. She is a qualified mechanical engineer. And that's not all. You have the longest serving ones as well. In the oldest ones, you have Menka Gandhi, you have Shibu Soren, and you have Manmohan Singh. And the old versus new, you know exactly what I was talking about earlier. You know how the earlier building took 6 years to complete. This one has taken just 2 years to complete. It got completed in 2022. The earlier building is located in Sansad Marg. The other one is in Central Vista area, not very far away from each other, but not very close as well. There's going to be a 2-story building. The earlier one that was, the new one is a 4-story building, Nancy.
I mean, if you talk about the area as well, it has, the old building has 24,281 square kilometer, and the new building is much more spacious.
Square meter, yeah. Madam. Square
meter. And 64,500 square meters. I mean, that is what we needed, more space. And now that we are welcoming the new women reservation bill, more women are going to come in and participate. I think it's going to be important. Seating capacity was also one of the major issues that you pointed out, that 790 MPs were able to fit in the old parliament, but now we have seating capacity of 1,224 MPs in the new parliament building. And the cost.
बैठने पे बहुत focus हो रहा है, Nancy.
Yeah.
सबका बैठने पे बहुत focus है. Seating capacity. I mean, we don't want our politicians to keep sitting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, लड़ाई कुर्सी की है.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's very clever. I mean, the way you put it. And you were right that, earlier the joint sessions, you said that, they used to put out extra chairs in the aisle. I mean, it looks so informal.
It looked a little shabby. It looked a little. Well, for me, in my limited opinion, it didn't matter how it looked, as long as the actual democratic procedure was being carried out.
I think that is the message Modi ji is trying to say, that it should matter that how it looks.
Take a look at that. What all is being sourced from various places. Teak wood that was sourced from, well, latest visuals that we're getting. Sonia Gandhi, who has just now reached the parliament today. This is what we're picking up. K.C. Venugopal accompanying the Congress stalwart, Nancy. Sonia Gandhi, again, one of those, elite faces, which, again, the BJP has also weaponized, saying that you're an elitist party. But then again, it is a little regal value to Sonia Gandhi that comes across whenever she enters the parliament. Something about Sonia Gandhi entering the parliament. Now, it's going to be pretty much for the last time. It's all being shifted to the new one.
I was talking about it earlier. I've said this so many times that, I'm just excited to see Sonia Gandhi actively participating, in parliament sessions, going in the meetings and all, because I think, it's nostalgic to see old leaders. It's nice to see the opposition, reviving up and talking about, actively participating, actively putting out their front, and trying to fight out the ND alliance or whatever the politics. But it's good to have a strong opposition finally who is active, who is who's not going to back down like that. And we have Sonia Gandhi coming in. It's always good to see her. It's always good to see her actively participating in the sessions, and because she's somebody who represents one of the old parliament. She's also one of the old.
Not just her. With her always K.C. Venugopal, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. It's a battery of those Congress leaders that always walk around together when anything related to the parliament is supposed to be taken up. But what a big day today, Nancy. I'm certainly excited about the change and the shift to the new parliament building. I've said it time and again that old has to give way to new, and what a beautiful new this one is in front of us.
I mean, I'm just waiting for that visual. If we could get the chance to see when PM Modi will walk with all the MPs, he'll hold the constitution in his hand and he'll walk towards the new parliament building, and there's going to be a proper photo session. I think that is going to be one historic photo, and that people will talk about in years to come, because it's a big change for our country. It's a big development for our country that we now have a new parliament building. Because apart from the politics, apart from everything, I think when we talk about some principles that our country is based on, and when we talk about democracy, okay, let's look at some of the symbols that you were talking about. Teak wood sourced from the Nagpur, Maharashtra, and then we have sandstone procured from the Samartha of some Sarmathura, Rajasthan. So it's a blend of all the India. Carpets from Mirzapur, UP.
Gee.
So from every state, and we have bamboo
wood flooring from Agartala.
Agartala, Tripura. I mean, it's a blend of representation of India. Stone jali works from Rajnagar, Rajasthan, and Noida and UP. Then we have Ashoka emblem from Aurangabad, Maharashtra, and Jaipur, Rajasthan. So the Ashoka emblem that we were seeing.
Right.
Then we have Ashok Chakra from Indore, Madhya Pradesh as well. So it's definitely a representation of whole India. We have Lakha red from Lakha Jaisalmer. A lot of things getting sourced from state Rajasthan. White marble from Ambali, Rajasthan.
Certainly. You're very happy. A lot of it being sourced from Rajasthan.
We have a lot to offer. I think celebration of art and culture, the hub. Kesaria green stone was also procured from Udaipur, again Rajasthan. So a lot of things are really coming in.
The same green that you don't really like. You like the Rajya Sabha better.
I didn't say stone I didn't like the green
done
color.
In Abu Road and Udaipur. So again, the stone carving has also been done. But I think stone carving is also a traditional and very unique to Rajasthan. M sand from Chakari Dadri in Haryana. So a lot of places. Now again, you have Gujarat coming in there as well. Brass work and pre-cast trenches from Ahmedabad in Gujarat. So a lot of people, thriving on the new parliament building. A lot of business because of the new parliament building.
I think Kabir from
false ceiling steel from Daman and Diu.
Yeah,
Daman and Diu se bhi kuch na kuch liya hai.
I mean, from the list you can figure out the efforts that has gone to decorate the new parliament building from all around the country. We are sourcing out from every state, whether it's Rajasthan, whether it's UP, Noida, Maharashtra. We are sourcing out things to decorate, and I think it's important because the old parliament building had some issues, and that is exactly why we needed the new parliament building. That the existing parliament building was commissioned in 1927.
That's really old.
Yeah, that's old. It needed that repair, and almost a century old heritage, grade 1 building. So
which basically means leave the building be. Let the building be. Leave it be because it will fall anytime. Buildings showing signs of distress and overutilization with ad hoc constructions over time. Exactly what I was talking about. It started showing cracks. You had to add another floor on top. All of that happened in the old building. Now, building not able to meet current space, amenities, and technology requirements.
Yeah, so we were talking about the seating capacity and all of that massive increase in parliamentary activities and uses over the decades. So, there has been an increase in the parliamentary activities. So we needed a new building for that, so that we can accommodate all the parliamentary activities that we are talking about. New building is built by Indians and embodies the culture, pride and spirit of the entire nation, which is something that I wanted to point it out. But then that I am always a fan of Make in India. So we have shifted to Make in India in the parliamentary as well, that our new parliamentary building is also made in India. So that is something, something that we can be proud of. And it's a celebration definitely, and opposition coming in, the new leaders coming in, and I'm really excited to see the first session and the speeches by Manmohan Singh and all the other leaders, because they are going, because they have seen the development, they have seen India and the parliamentary session, they have seen the journey. I think there's no other better leaders to come and commence the new parliament, because I think that is something very important, that even if you're moving towards something new, you have to preserve, you have to respect the old heritage, the old culture, the old principle that the democracy of India is built on. So it will be an exciting session to see, and I'm waiting for all the leaders to join the new parliament session. They are going to start with the old parliamentary building, and then they are going to shift towards the new parliament building. So I think that is going to be.
What's interesting to note here is that what you're looking at right now, the lower house, which is going to be the Lok Sabha, is based on the peacock theme, which is the national bird of the country, and the Rajya Sabha has been based on the theme of the lotus, which is the national flower
of our country.
Of the country, and lotus also the party symbol of the Bharatiya Janata Party. But of course, that is a coincidence. Of course, BJP is not going to mind that one bit. The opposition and the Congress not going to like that one bit.
Let's not give Jairam Ramesh any ideas.
Yeah, Jairam Ramesh yesterday, Jagdeep Dhankar, he gave it to Jairam Ramesh. He said, "You are not super LOP."
Yeah.
Relax.
Stop intervening in between the. Let him talk. Let me talk. Please stop intervening in between. Stop interrupting the procedure. But yeah, it was I think I have to say it, Kabir, when you look at Lok Sabha, the tension is there, there is intense discussion going on, but whenever you go to Rajya Sabha, I mean, but the atmosphere is a little light. The moment, you open the proceedings, there is one or the other leader, saying shairis, and there is a
I think that's not going to go away, Nancy. Sher o shairi or poetry, the use of satire and all of that will certainly continue in the new parliament building as well.
And I think it's important that it continues, because that is what, we don't want people to detach themselves and we are like, oh, this is all new, wo baat nahi rahi. We don't want that, we don't want the people to think like that now they have moved to the new parliament, everything is going to be very organized, they are not going to talk about like that, and I don't think so. That should change, because leaders are the same. The old buildings, who were sitting in the old building are going to sit in the new building. So that is not going to change, but definitely it's a big step for our country, and it's a big victory, I would say, for the democracy, that now we are moving to a new parliament building with with old principles, old ideas,
new hopes, new aspirations, Nancy. That's how we should look at it. So from the 144 those pillars, from sandstone walls, the old legacy of the council house, what we used to call the old parliament building. Aaj wahan se hum we're going to take the entire democratic procedure, and the temple of democracy is not going to shift, but it is going to be transferred to the new parliament building. Meanwhile, the new parliament building, what's new about it, and why is it important to keep the roots of our democracy, the history of our democracy closer to ourselves as well, and the significant features of this shift of transfer of the old parliament building into the new parliament building. News 9 Plus has done a documentary on this, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at this documentary and we'll come back for more.
हम राष्ट्र को भी एक परिवार के रूप में देखते हैं और विश्व को भी एक परिवार मानते हैं. वसुधैव कुटुंबकम.
आयम निजा परोवेति गणना लघु चेतसाम उदार चरितानाम तो वसुधैव कुटुंबकम. Can you imagine, these are thousands and thousands of years ago, Indian scriptures have emphasized some of these things which in my view are fundamental to democracy.
Once upon a time in 11th century India, there was a king named Raja Bhoj. His life's mission was to sit on King Vikramaditya's throne. It was made of gold with 32 life-size statues. As soon as Raja Bhoj would want to sit, one of those statues would come to life and tell him a tale of King Vikramaditya's greatness. If only he could match that, could he find himself worthy of the throne.
The king is not divine.
It is the legitimacy from the people that makes a person ruler. Only those people were called Raja who were beyond the dynasty, beyond the self, and ruled for the people.
There were elements of what you would consider today's modern democratic practice in the Arthashastra's prescriptions to the monarch, in how he was supposed to rule, how he was to get a sense of the discontent of his people.
India is a secular democratic nation because we are civilizationally democratic.
Rig Veda mentions the Gramini, the Atharva Veda talks about sabhas and samitis and so on. There's a whole tradition in the Vedas and certainly during the Buddhist era, which is also documented. The Buddhists had ganas and sanghas in which there were congregations of people who would collectively make decisions.
Since the colonial politics and domination, the Indian mind has been compelled to become Eurocentric. Therefore, whatever happens in Europe becomes the history of the world.
We were always fed with the Greek or the British, for example, parliamentary traditions. That the British taught us parliamentary traditions. I say the time has come to challenge that because of the evidence that is now available on what was happening in India thousands of years ago.
The sheen of this ancient past considerably wore off during the colonial rule, where the British sought to put their stamp on a proud civilizational people. But India, that is Bharat, stood firm in times of tribulations to keep our democratic traditions alive.
The first democracy in the world can be traced in the Vedic age when there were Sabha and Samiti. They were equivalent to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, or in US, Senate and House of Representatives, or in Britain, House of Lords and House of Commons, the Sabha and Samiti. What the biggest feature of the Sabha and Samiti was, they have been regularly in session, consistency in the session, debating, discussing, and the women's representation. They were the learned people. So the birth of democracy, India can claim, and that claim is based on substantive fact.
From Ashoka's edict reaching out to the people to the Sabhas and Samitis of ancient India, the DNA of democracy is what defines our nation. And let's say from rules that the monarch or the Raja abided by to decentralization of power, our ancestors had put systems in place that have developed into a more modern institutions today.
Originally, the panchayati system goes back very, very far in our history, and we have descriptions of Vaishali, we have descriptions of some of the early village republics, you can call them. Gandhiji used to idealize the ways in which villages organized themselves and took their own decisions. And he almost imagined in Hind Swaraj, you see Gandhi talking about India as a sort of collection of self-sufficient village republics. So there is an ancient tradition, no doubt about that. The Lichavis had a very democratic organization, the villages.
And that's exactly why history matters. because it becomes a part of our textbooks. It becomes a part of us, our narrative, and the way we see the world and how the world perceives us.
Let's talk about ancient texts and the modern Indian constitution. I will say the first idea which has come from the past for thousands of years, it has travelled down to this constitution, is Republican form of government. I value a Republican form of government to be very central to the idea of democracy, because there is no king or queen, and equality before law, which is very central to democracy, is established. Universal adult suffrage. In India, it was universal. Everybody had a right, irrespective of caste, gender, and so on.
But India is the only civilization which can have something like Varanasi, a 1,000-year-old city, being converted into a modern smart city. Because the two coexist. I mean, here you are at the tipping, the cutting edge of technology. You're landing on the moon, you are all over the moon now, you got a lunar mission, you're doing all those things, and yet you have basic grassroots level developmental challenges in the agricultural sector, in your urban local bodies, etc. But that's the beauty of India.
As a nation state of the world, India's new parliament building is a testament of the ideals imagined by ancient and medieval India.
I am told that those who went to the inauguration were able to see a number of reflections of the democratic traditions of ancient India in the architecture, in the dioramas on
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had to cut that documentary short. You can, of course, catch the entirety of it on the News 9 Plus application, the world's first news OTT. But let's quickly cut across to the old Parliament premises, where all the parliamentarians have gotten together, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a big, big day. Photo session in front of the old Parliament House and the Central Hall will take place today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend both these photo, ops. What's more, Nancy, and what we're picking up is that the Prime Minister may walk on foot from the old building to the new building, and that's not all. What's more is that the Prime Minister is going to be holding a copy of the Constitution whilst he's walking. It's a power-packed day for the Prime Minister.
And it's written that all the MPs will follow the PM on foot also, from the old Parliament building to the new Parliament building. So from leading the way for the G20 delegates to leading the way to the MPs of our country, I think PM Modi is definitely leading way towards democracy, towards development. And after there is also a special program arranged for at 11 a.m. That will start in the Central Hall from 11 a.m. in which the historical legacy of Parliament would also be mentioned, and a pledge will be taken to make
for a
India
developed Bharat by 2047. The resolve that is going to be taken by all these people. और क्या-क्या होने वाला है आज, Nancy? It seems like it's going to be a long, long day.
Well, definitely, I was reading about it. Obviously, we have Maneka Gandhi being the longest serving MP. Then we have Manmohan Singh. We have
another dignitary, it seems, has made their way. Nancy, sorry to cut you short, but always excited to see a long black sedan with a shiny livery coming right up, and the special protection group coming out of it first. Seems like the president, but we'll have to wait and find out as to what is the scenario. It is the Prime Minister.
Modi himself.
It is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has now reached the old Parliament complex. The Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Prahlad Joshi, receiving the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister is attending the photo ops essentially before we move into the new Parliament building. Nancy, important day, red letter day. You're witnessing history, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that, Rahul Gandhi also there, has given a position on the staircase, albeit the Prime Minister comes in that, shining car. What we're also picking up is that Om Birla, Speaker of the lower house, Aditya L1 Chaudhary, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they're all slated to speak in the new Lok Sabha of the new building as well. This is what we're picking up at the moment. So Prime Minister is going to walk on foot from the old to the new building with a copy of the Constitution in his hands. Speaker of the lower house, Om Birla, now on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. And my apologies for cutting you short there, Nancy. It's just it's always exciting to see
Definitely, I mean,
a dignitary's car like
yeah,
parked right up.
yeah, the Batmobiles we have in India as well. And we had, Prime Minister coming in, then we saw Rahul Gandhi standing on the stairs as well. So I think it's going to be one iconic, photograph that, people are going to talk about for ages now. And the Lok Sabha proceedings will begin at 1:15 and Rajya Sabha will begin at 2:15 in the new Parliament building. So we are going to see the first Parliament debate in the new building as well. So it's going to be one, interesting session for everybody. And we had a lot of dignitaries who are already lined up to speak, including Menka Gandhi, Manmohan Singh, and then we have Prime Minister Modi's speech. Then we have the leader of opposition, obviously Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who is also scheduled to start the Lok Sabha session today. So I think it's going to be one one exciting ride for people.
1:15 p.m. is what we're
Yeah.
learning when the new session of the Lok Sabha will begin, and 2:15 is when the new session of the Rajya Sabha will begin in the new building. All the members of Parliament are going to follow the Prime Minister, who's going to walk on foot from the old building to the new building with a copy of Constitution in his hand. Now, Nancy, Menka Gandhi is going to speak in the Lok Sabha, being the longest, serving member
MP.
of Parliament in the Lok Sabha. Manmohan Singh will speak in the Rajya Sabha, being the longest member, serving member of the Rajya Sabha. And Shibu Soren is going to speak in the Central Hall because he's the longest serving member in both the houses combined,
Yeah.
the Lok Sabha and the Rajya
Rajya
Sabha.
Sabha.
So the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha chief, Shibu Soren, is going to address, the house in the Central Hall.
Where
is
they are
what we're
going
picking
to
up.
take a pledge to make India a developed country by 2047. So that is going to be one interesting event. And you can see, all the leaders are already lined up. They're all,
We've got some
waiting.
800 parliamentarians. Aaj attendance full hogi. Aaj attendance
full,
100% hogi.
yeah, true. And now so we have seating capacity
It
as
is a
well
big
for
day, a
all
big
the
event, and
MPs.
there you have it. All the photographers racing in
And then
because
we
the
have
Prime Minister is making
Modi ji.
his way with Prahlad Joshi, the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs.
ओम बिरला जी उनका स्वागत करते हुए प्रधानमंत्री मोदी इस उत्साह को आप देखिएगा सभी के बीच में तालियों से प्रधानमंत्री मोदी का स्वागत किया गया है इस ऐतिहासिक पल के लिए। इस ऐतिहासिक पल को आप खुद देख सकते हैं तस्वीरों से। सभी सांसद आप देखिए प्रधानमंत्री के साथ बैठने के लिए, फोटो खिंचाने के लिए सभी सांसद मौजूद हैं। इनफैक्ट मतलब इस प्रोटोकॉल को भी आप अगर हटा दें तो सभी सांसद नीचे तक भी बैठने को तैयार हैं। सीटिंग अरेंजमेंट इस तरह से किया हुआ है कि फोटो खींची जा सके। उसके लिए देखिए सांसद सब पहली पंक्ति में ही बैठे हुए हैं। देखिए प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी बैठे हैं, साथ में राजनाथ सिंह जी हैं।
Well, so all the parliamentarians over there, Nancy. What a beautiful, beautiful snippet. You otherwise wouldn't get to know or see. The common public doesn't really know what the parliament premises looks from the inside.
Yeah.
For the first time, this is a glimpse for all those people. All the media personnel, rummaging to look for a spot from where they can themselves, report on this magnanimous historical occasion. The Prime Minister sitting there in the front row.
And
Are we
can
going to wait for
see-
the president, Nancy, or is this going to be just the Prime Minister? Of course, you can see Farooq Abdullah sitting on the chair over there. Lots and lots of faces. People will start doing a study, what leader is,
Jaideep Dhankar as well.
sitting where, what leader was made to stand where. The Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankar, now making his way for the photo ops. The Prime Minister gets up, folds his hands to greet the Vice President. Meanwhile, you have all these parliamentarians. What a colorful photograph. Isn't it, Nancy? Colorful photograph.
Definitely. I mean, this is the celebration. It looks like everybody is here for a big fat festival, big fat Indian festival. And you can see MPs sitting on the ground as well, just so that they can, you can just fit in the photograph, because it's one historic pic. And everybody, you can see all the leaders, and we can see Narendra Modi
Well, it
is
seems
sitting
Amit
there
Shah
in the
has
front.
gotten up, the Home Minister has gotten up, Nancy, he's walking towards the direction of Rahul Gandhi. The Defence Minister and the Prime Minister also looking up somewhere.
Yeah, something's
don't know
happening up there.
Something's amiss. Something's
Yeah,
amiss over here.
something, yeah.
You've got the Vice President, the Prime Minister, the Defence Minister, then the Home Minister, and the leader, the Speaker, beg your pardon, of the lower house, Om Birla, in that group of people who were sitting right in the center of that photograph. You know, back in the day in schools when an annual picture was being taken, the central position was always the most important one.
The principal
wasn't it?
used to
The
sit there
principal,
and the class
who's going to sit
teachers,
next to the principal, who's going to sit next to the class teacher. That was always the discussion.
Yeah, the class monitors will sit right next to the principal and the class teacher, in between the class teachers. So
Well,
I think
isn't it the same over here? You have his main monitor sitting, next to him. Well, he himself sitting next to the Vice President.
I think Amit Shah is right now playing the role of the line monitor. He just got up and he's like, please guys, sit down. We have the principal here, let's just take the photograph and let's just, move on with the proceedings as soon as we can. And, it's just a matter of time that, Narendra Modi will, Mr. Modi will take a copy of the constitution and will march towards the new parliament building. So that is going to be one, hell of an interesting ride to see, the shift. And look at the picture, look at the screens that people, everybody, all the MPs, whether it's from opposition, whether it's from from the centre, from BJP, everybody is just
women
there
parliamentarians
in one
right
frame.
behind the Prime Minister, and Piyush Goyal now standing where Amit Shah was earlier sitting. So has that rejig been done or not? In the meantime, let's quickly cut across to the live commentary that we're getting from Sansad TV right now.
संसद भवन के नए परिसर में प्रवेश करना है इन संकल्पों, इन उम्मीदों, इन आशाओं के साथ। और ये आशाएं, उम्मीदें, संकल्प इस वक्त सभी के मन में एक समान है और सभी इस वक्त ऐसा लग रहा है प्रीति की एक समान है। आप देखिए किसी के मन में कोई संकोच नहीं है क्योंकि हमारे माननीय सांसद जो हैं वो नीचे बैठ गए हैं फोटो खिंचवाने के लिए और उत्साह जो है सबका कहीं ना कहीं बहुत ऊपर है और वो इन तस्वीरों के माध्यम से साफ झलक रहा है। सुमित्रा जी, आप इस समय कैसा महसूस कर रही हैं इन तस्वीरों को देखकर?
मुझे लग रहा है कि मैं भी उनमें शामिल हूँ, ऐसा लग रहा है। वो सब आप बहुत, आपका भी धन्यवाद, मुझे ऐसे समय पे आपने बुलाया। तो लग रहा है कि मैं भी ऐसे ही बिल्कुल देखती थी और मन में जो भाव थे कि कब आगे बढ़ूंगी, आगे बैठूंगी। तो आज वही सांसद जैसे नीचे बैठे, हमारे समय में हम नहीं बैठते थे। हालांकि ये एकत्रित फोटो है इसलिए, मगर ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे मैं वहां मौजूद हूँ, कहीं ना कहीं अपनी जगह खोज रही हूँ, ढूंढ रही हूँ। ये जो भाव
जी का
रहता
भी
है,
एक रिस्पॉन्स हमको मिल गया। Got to understand what she's going through as well. Talking about how people wouldn't really sit on the floor, but I've seen a number of parliamentarians who've sat down on the floor in front of the Mahatma Gandhi statue in protest, in sit-ins, and for various reasons. It is a historic photograph. What's the harm in sitting on the floor?
Well, there is no harm. I mean, that is, and I think in India, it's the culture. We used to eat food while sitting on the floor. So I don't think so there is anything derogatory in sitting on the ground. And
Absolutely
I think
right, Nancy.
that is something that, that represents our culture. So, let's not westernize the concept of, sitting down is derogatory in any way. I mean, it's beautiful to see all the MPs just, trying to fit into the photograph and adjusting for, people so that everybody could fit in one photograph. So even if they have to sit on the floor, even if they have to climb up the stairs.
Today we have panorama, pictures that we can take. The old Parliament building, back in the day, there was a media house, a shop that developed photographs. I was reading somewhere who took the photograph of all the parliamentarians back in 1927, and it was called the Council House, and they used a panoramic lens back in the day as well. Today you have a panoramic lens on your mobile phones. That's how compact and precise we've made technology just a century later. Impeccable, isn't it?
It is.
To look at just 100 years back what was and how we're looking at things today. Just the difference in technology, in polity, in geopolitics, in how India is being perceived as a global power today. A very successful G20. We're talking about a successful soft landing on the dark side of the moon. Aditya L1 already on its way to Lagrange point 1. India just, winning the Asia Cup, and is also going to host the World Cup this year as well. And we all know, whenever India dons the blue jersey and gets onto that cricketing pitch, we expect more so than not that it is going to lift the trophy. It has been a great year for India, hasn't it?
Definitely.
And the same year we're transferring from the old to the new. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75 years of independence. It was Prime Minister's birthday on the 17th this Sunday. He launched the Vishwakarma Yojana on Vishwakarma Jayanti. 18 trades that are going to impact and get benefit because of the scheme. Subsidized loans in various tranches to cobblers, to hairdressers, well, you name it. It has been a great year for India. And the journey that was paid respect to, from Shastri to Narasimha Rao to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Deve Gowda, all the former prime ministers, something that was remembered. They were remembered again by the Prime Minister yesterday, from Jawaharlal Nehru to Indira Gandhi, members from the opposition, quoting so many of those politicians that parties will be made, unmade, but it's the country that should continue to survive. It's the country that should strive. It's the country that should move forward. The pictures are going to take place any minute now. We're soon going to get them, and we will throw those, full blown on the screens for you to consume. But in the meantime, I'm more interested in looking at the Prime Minister with his solemn and serious face, with a copy of the Constitution in his hand, and just like the superstar that he is in front of cameras, he's going to walk down from the old building to the new building with all the parliamentarians following, some giggling, some clicking pictures, some taking selfies, some emotional, some not so emotional. Well, there you have it. It seems like the photo op has gotten over. People are dispersing a little bit, and just like a hefty organized annual photograph, people from the top are being asked to vacate before all the people below can go, because you don't know, it could be a rickety system. You have a lot of people sitting on those stairs, on those stands. It could fall anytime. All those stalwarts that you can see, ladies and gentlemen, on your screens, even as the photo operation, it seems, is now over. Now
BJP MP faints during the photo session, so I think that is what happened.
Oh, all right.
Amit Shah
That's
got
what I'm
up.
picking up.
When Amit Shah got up and everybody was looking at it, and I think
Oh, so that's why they got up. That's why they had to cut.
That is what they were
out of
looking
it.
at. Yeah, that is what they were, not at the direction of Rahul Gandhi, but a BJP MP.
We're learning that Narhari Amin, who's the BJP MP, member of parliament, fainted. The reason is yet to be ascertained. It seems like, it could be hot over there, could be some underlying medical condition. We don't know at the moment, but a BJP MLA fainted ahead of the photo op. Still no clarity in terms of has the photo op been taken or not.
Yeah, it looks like it's done, because
You know what, Nancy, let's quickly cut across to the running commentary for more details.
नीचे ही बैठ गए कि तस्वीर खिंचवानी है, इस ऐतिहासिक पल को गंवाना नहीं है, और नीचे ही बैठकर सही, लेकिन हमें इस तस्वीर का हिस्सा बनना है, क्योंकि ये तस्वीर अपने आप में ऐतिहासिक है। संसद भवन के पुराने परिसर में तस्वीर खिंचवाना एक ऐतिहासिक है, क्योंकि इसके बाद
Well, quite a funny take over there, by the member of parliament trying to fix his mustache in front of the live camera. See, then again, I mean, these are the things
that
you,
is, I think
that
is what we want. That the spirit that should, carry forward to the new parliament building as well, where, people are just casually moving around, and you see a camera.
Because a lot of people outside think that these are members of parliament, these are parliamentarians, politicians are untouchable. This is again showing us that politicians are also humans. I mean, they come from amid the same alleys and colonies and societies and residential areas, sectors, districts as all of us. And the Prime Minister said yesterday that from somebody who used to sleep in a railway station has made its way into the parliament. I'm telling you, look at my example. Trust the democratic procedure of the parliament. Trust that it is actually, in fact, a temple of democracy. Meanwhile, one of the BJP MP fainted ahead of the photo session. Still no information whether the photo has been taken or not. Like I said, I'm more interested in looking at the Prime Minister walking on foot from the old to the new Parliament building. From you know, what most of the you know, MPs using their handkerchiefs, using their dupattas,
looks like the weather,
using their it looks like it's hot and humid over there, isn't it? And they must be standing there for a long time because waiting for the Prime Minister. But natural that, you know, in the heat of the moment and heat actually, the MP could have fainted. That could be a probable reason now, isn't it, Nancy? I remember back in the day in my school when, you know, you used to stand for all those Republic Day parades and the Guard of Honors. These are visuals that we're now getting of the Member of Parliament that fainted, people adhering and attending to that Member of Parliament. Let's hope everything is all right. Nothing serious has happened.
Yeah,
it's just a little heat stroke.
Heat stroke, yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, this is, I think the photo session is obviously going to historic, but you know, after we are done with the photo session, and you know, you were correctly pointing it out that if you look at the 1927 pictures, you know, we couldn't get live coverage of like this. Like now we can see inside as it's happening.
बेहोश हो गया? हाँ. किसको गर्मी लग गई ज़्यादा?
At that time we wouldn't be able to see, and you know, the way we are able to see these MPs in such a candid, you know, just in such a candor form that they're talking and they're laughing and they're just waiting. You can see Rahul Gandhi standing in the stairs, like, you know, like a normal student who's just waiting to get the pictures clicked. I think that was not possible. I think in 1927 obviously, but now it's possible, and now it's so transparent. I think democracy is all about transparency. We can see that, you know, how the procedures are done, what is happening. You know, even if we talk about the G20 as well, we were able to see that how, you know, the bilaterals are happening, because earlier it used to be a very secretive meeting, although today also we don't know, you know, we don't have the actual footage of them talking what the conversation exactly was, but we still, there is so much transparency. We could see Biden and Modi holding their hands, walking together with Rishi Sunak as well. And for that matter Justin Trudeau as well. So you know, these kind of, you know, development and the way India is being, you know, portrayed on the global map right now. Nobody you know, anymore sees India just as a country who's just, you know, who outsource jobs, you know, who just comes in and bags jobs of the Americans, you know, who are working in the call center, who are, you know, good in maths. It's not the perception anymore, you know, we have changed it. And I think in the past decade, we have done so many advancement in any field you say, whether it's space exploration, whether it's defense technology. We have, you know, built up strong defense borders. We have given a clear message to everybody that, you know, India is an independent country. We don't believe in alliance. We are not going to get influenced by West anymore. We are not going to get influenced by any kind of alliance. And you know, it's an independent sovereignty, and today we are celebrating one of the pillars of being that independent sovereignty, being that independent, you know, republic that we are, because, you know, we are an independent country, and you know, we are celebrating the parliament, one of the important functions that keeps democracy alive, that keeps the discussion that happens in parliament, is something that keeps the spirit of democracy alive, the spirit of our country alive. And I think you know, it's such a beautiful, you know, it visually aids you so much that all the MPs from all the parties, no matter how many, you know, drifts are
even
there.
As Narhari Amin you know, fainted, I'm sure that they wouldn't have, you know, looked at the party, but the person. Everybody would have come in and you know, they instantly began helping Narhari Amin, the BJP MP who fainted ahead of the photo ops. Has the photo been taken or not? I'm again saying it. We have no clarity on that, but if time is to be looked at, that those clicks must have happened, and all the MPs behind the Prime Minister will walk on foot from the old building to the new building.
You can see all the MPs fanning themselves, so I'm assuming the temperature is high.
I can see Shashi Tharoor, he's not, he's unperturbed by the heat.
Well, he's Shashi Tharoor we are talking about, so obviously
always
he's
cool
going
in the moment.
Obviously
K.C.
going to
Venugopal and several of the Congress leaders to the extreme right, from what I, you know, identified. Again, historic day, Nancy. Like you pointed out, and I've said it before again. I'm so sorry. That not a lot of people would know what the Parliament looks like from the inside.
Yeah.
But today you're getting a glimpse of this picture. It seems from what we're picking up is being taken in front of the central hall where the joint session used to happen, which is why the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha are together. All the members of parliament are here together. So there's going to be one collective photograph. But you're right, all the members of parliament, you know, most of them, they're fanning themselves. Sabko garmi lag rahi hai.
Sabko, yeah, I think the temperature is really taking a toll, and I think the MP that we're talking about who fainted because of heat stroke, obviously. And you know, it's important to you know, see, and you know, there have been reports also that the old parliament is going to get turned into a museum. So you know, I think it's an important step that we are preserving the culture as well. We are preserving
for youngsters to keep coming and understanding where our roots belong to, where have we come from, what has this journey been like.
This is
for
where
India's
it all
democracy.
started. Yeah,
right.
The journey of India started from the old parliament building. You know, the Constitution Committee, they sat and they, you know, created the constitution that, you know, gives you, I mean, the constitution in itself is a celebration of, you know, India's democracy, because we are the largest democracy right now, and we have a written constitution of 900 pages. I think that is longest, and you know, it's derived from all the countries.
Taken the best from all.
Whether it's fundamental rights, whether it's federalism, whether it's, you know, citizenship and everything. And I think that is what you know, India is about. India is about adapting. India is about, you know, this exclusivity and inclusivity, you know, blend of you know, that, you know, we have our own culture, we have our own you know, principles that we value, but we are also, you know, a welcoming country. We are also moving towards development, and we understand that change is the only constant. So the way we are, you know, shifting from the old to the new building, and but we are also making sure that the principles, the ideas, the, you know, the expression of India, the principle that India is built on remains the same, and you know, we preserve it. So we are preserving the old parliament building as well. We are trying to, you know, keep that safe and secure for the generations to see the journey of our country. And the journey of democracy.
All right, those are visuals, of course, from when the Prime Minister arrived at the Central Hall for that photograph session. They had all just gotten together when suddenly, you know, one of the BJP MPs, they fainted. And well, what's going to happen next? We're going to continue to bring you the latest developments. Meanwhile, ground report. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at that, even as we'll get you some reactions from Sonia Gandhi as well, from when she entered the parliament. But first and foremost, a ground report. Take a look at this.
मैं इस वक्त संसद भवन परिसर में खड़ा हूं, इतिहास और भविष्य के बीच। ये है भविष्य, नया संसद, जहां आज से कामकाज संसद का शुरू होगा। मक्कर द्वार, जहां से आज सारे सांसद पार्लियामेंट, पुरानी पार्लियामेंट बिल्डिंग से निकलकर इसमें नई बिल्डिंग में जाएंगे। और ये मेरे ठीक दाहिनी तरफ इतिहास है, जो पुरानी बिल्डिंग है उसको भी मैं आपको दिखाऊं। आज खूबसूरत ढंग से सजाया गया है। पार्लियामेंट का ये मेन द्वार है, गेट नंबर 1 है, जहां से सालों यहाँ तमाम सांसद, 7500 सांसद अब तक इस गेट के अंदर गए हैं। और आप देख सकते हैं कितने बेहतरीन ढंग से फूलों से सजाया गया है। अब आज इसे आप इसकी पच्चीकारी को देखिए, कितने बेहतर ढंग से ऊपर पेंटिंग की गई है। जो पुरानी पेंटिंग थी उसको नए ढंग से किया गया है और इसको बेहतर ढंग से आज सजाया गया है। और इसके साथ ही मैं आपको बताऊं कि अब ये संग्रहालय बन जाएगा, तो यहीं से तमाम सांसद निकलेंगे और नए सांसद नए भवन में, नई बिल्डिंग में यहाँ से जाएंगे। और मैं आपको बताऊं कि ये जो गेट है मेरे ठीक लेफ्ट साइड में मक्कर गेट है। मक्कर गेट से एंट्री के साथ ही जब यहाँ से आप इंटर करेंगे तो बाईं तरफ लोकसभा है और दाहिनी तरफ राज्यसभा है। लेकिन मेरे ठीक पीछे प्रधानमंत्री, आपको जानकारी हो चाहिए कि प्रधानमंत्री कहाँ से यहाँ घुसेंगे। तो प्रधानमंत्री का गेट ठीक सामने है, जहाँ से प्रधानमंत्री घुसेंगे। देख सकते हैं आप, वहाँ तमाम सजावट का काम अभी भी चल रहा है और गज द्वार उसको बोलते हैं, वहाँ से प्रधानमंत्री अब नई बिल्डिंग में घुसेंगे। तो आज से ये नई बिल्डिंग में कामकाज शुरू होगा और पुरानी बिल्डिंग इतिहास बनकर रह जाएगा। भविष्य की रचना नई बिल्डिंग से होगी।
स्पीकर, वुमेन रिजर्वेशन बिल मैडम, महिला आरक्षण बिल आ रहा है संसद में, ऐसा कहा जा रहा है। आप मैडम, आपकी मांग थी। मैडम महिला आरक्षण
Women's reservation bill finally is coming.
Women's reservation
Women's reservation bill. अपना है. आपने कई बार लिखा भी था मोदी सरकार ने.
That's what Sonia Gandhi said. हाँ आ रहा है, अपना है, अपना है, आ रहा है.
Yeah.
Which is what Jairam Ramesh also did. You know, he gave chronology of that. But before we delve into the politics, live visuals, ladies and gentlemen, of the photographs that are being taken. The Prime Minister sitting right there in the center with Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister, the Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar. You've got the Speaker of the lower house, Om Birla, over there as well. Speaker of the upper house, which is the Vice President always. The photo ops being held and conducted. Seems like Narhari Amin ji ko वापस होश में लाया जा चुका है, and the photo ops is a success. Otherwise, what we used to do back in the day was to leave a space and maybe the person could be photo edited or photoshopped into the entire picture. Has that happened or not? Well, again, no details per se, but it seems the photo op has been completed. Now, after this, from right where we heard Sonia Gandhi say that, yeah, women reservation bill, wo to apna hi hai, hamara hi hai. From there, exactly is when the Prime Minister is going to depart the old Parliament House on foot, walk a couple of steps, a few, 100 steps to the new Parliament building with the copy of the Constitution in his hand. I mean, I can already see the YouTube and the social media be flooded with slow-mo videos of Prime Minister Modi walking with that Constitution copy in his hand into the new premises, the new Parliament building, something that is being awaited for the longest time, the crown jewel of the Central Vista project, from Kartavya Path to all these places, annex extensions. And now you have the new Parliament building as well. There you have it. There you see when the Prime Minister
arrived for the
photo. Then the Vice President came in for the photograph. बस सब बैठे ही थे कि suddenly we realized that something has happened.
Yes.
Narendra Amin ji, take a look at that. Now Home Minister gets up. Wait, security is my domain. I'll take a look at that. And then the Home Minister goes and says, "हाँ भाई क्या चल रहा है? What's really happening here?" He took a stock of the situation, and we were of course not getting visuals at that point in time, Nancy. It was almost like a counter-terror operation. You're getting deferred visuals. Just like that, we got some deferred visuals, but a photo session has been done. It's been completed from the latest set of visuals that we got. Iconic photograph. We will, I'm sure, tomorrow in the front pages of all newspapers. Today's page 1 is going to definitely be on the amazing photograph. And people will already start, analyzing the photograph. Kisko kahan khada kiya? How many BJP supporters closer to the Prime Minister? How many Congress supporters closer to the Prime Minister? Because one thing that I can note here is that even as the Women Reservation Bill is coming, women reservation bill, a lot of women parliamentarians right near the Prime Minister.
I think he's trying to hint something towards it that, finally my government was able, as Prahlad Joshi correctly tweeted that only Modi government had the courage to pass the women reservation bill. So I think that's the message that this photo session is trying or not trying to give. I mean, we can only analyze it from our point of view that this might be the situation. So, but definitely, I know it's important to when you see this kind of photo session where everybody is there. One of the things that I like about Parliament so much, the proceedings so much, is because the opposition is there, the center, the BJP, Congress, India bloc, everybody is there. But today, they are representing their parties, they are representing something.
So they are representing the democratic polity
but
of our
today
country.
You can see that, they are all there for the country. They are all there for, and nobody had any objections where to stand, where not to stand.
Well, absolutely. वो तो वक्त ही बताएगा किसी को objections थे कि नहीं थे, because soon people will come out, they'll start talking about that. But Nancy, let's just hope that this shift from the old to the new gives the youngsters some sort of impetus to get to know their parliament a little bit more, get to understand how the parliament functions. There's a lot of procedures that happen in the parliament that people don't know about. There's a 0 hour, there's a question hour. You move up, a motion. You get the voting is different,
Yeah, what's
what
the
kind of
majority,
procedure, what kind of
yeah.
motion can be moved when, what happens at what context. So it does get really interesting, and आजकल के बच्चे देख ही नहीं रहे हैं, जानना ही नहीं चाहते हैं. So maybe new advanced technologically reformed building is that right kind of impetus to encourage youngsters to know about their new parliament. Meanwhile, that's all the time we have for you in this elongated version of today's Page 1. We will cut across to the rolling coverage of Parliament as well. Meanwhile, time now for the business scene to take over, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at how the markets are behaving and all news from the realm of business and consumers. That's all the time we have for you. Nancy and Kabir signing off. Keep watching News 9 Live.
Hello and welcome. You are watching News 9 Live. I'm Krishna Kumar. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is certainly the technology